Hey there everyone, welcome back to another episode of Lion Collectibles. It's our fight picks and cards show, and we got a great day of fights tomorrow. UFC Fight Night 218, Lewis vs. Spivac, taking place at the UFC Apex in Nevada. And then we're also going to talk about Bellator 290, taking place in Inglewood, California. I know we don't talk a lot of Bellator, but I love Bellator. I love Scott Coker. I think they put on great events. I love to kind of have a little bit of a break up from the UFC. I love competition. So we're going to start talking about them as well. And they're putting on a good fight card tomorrow and a special fight card tomorrow. But before we get into those, I get to feel like a champ. I went 5-0 on the UFC 283 picks. We did really well. So I want to dive into those really quick. And then we'll dive into the fight picks for tomorrow. UFC 283 was an awesome event. The fights were a lot of fun, and it made it really nice that I won every one of my fights. My pocketbook was a little bit fatter at the end of the night, so that was a lot of fun. The fight started off the night with Paul Craig and Johnny Walker. We knew it was going to be explosive, and they got straight to the point. And my man Johnny Walker KO'd Paul Craig like I knew he would. Paul Craig way too slow, went for a takedown. Really funky strike from Walker that KO'd him. That was beautiful. It got us started off. Then you had Jessica Andrade versus Lauren Murphy. That fight was a beatdown. Andrade looked awesome, as we knew she would. She's a top contender, and I think she should fight for the title sometime soon. She beat the living hell out of Lauren Murphy. Murphy is too tough for her own good, and her face was battered and bruised, and it should have been stopped. But she was able to make it to the finals, or she was able to make it to the final bell, and she got her ass kicked. Then we went to our first pick of the night, was Gilbert Burns over Neil Magny. Gilbert Burns showed that he is right at the top. He has not left. That catapulted him into his fight with George Masvidal, so that's exciting. We can't wait for that. But Burns just looked like the dominant fighter that he was. Striking, Magny didn't really want any piece of the striking with him. The minute they hit the floor, you just saw the different level in their game. He even talked about it in the post-fight that he realized right when they hit the ground that he was going to be able to get the finish. Then in the co-main event, awesome fight in my opinion for as long as it lasted. I thought Brian Moreno looked like what we thought. He was on point, a little bit more focused. Figueroa, I think he's a tough guy and explosive, but I didn't like some of the tactics, trying to say that he got poked in the eye. No, brother, you got punched in the eye really hard. It ended up breaking his orbital. He complained that his eye was hurt, but it was on the other side. Wasn't my thing, but Brandon Moreno looked great. Great to see him as undisputed champion and have them put that rivalry to bed. It's going to be excited to see who he fights next. And then in the main event, great fight by these gentlemen. And again, another one of these things where poor Glover, man, he was too tough for his own good. Celebrate for Jamal Hill. He looked awesome. His kicks were powerful. His punches were powerful. He kept it up for the whole fight. Like really cool a fight for him and a kind of passing of the torch, so to speak. Glover, awesome fight career. He deserves all the accolades of a champion. Amazing to win a championship that old as he did, and just we love you, Glover, and enjoy your retirement. So again, we went 3-0. That put us to 19-15. We're gonna stick with 3 fights or maybe 4 fights picks. We'll see, but we want to keep it up. So Bellator 290 taking place in Inglewood. We're not gonna go super in depth as we do on the fights because we want to keep it short. Lorenzo Larkin is fighting against Makhmed Berkhamov. Again, don't know Berkhamov that well, but I love Lorenzo Larkin. I think Lorenzo Larkin's got great striking. He's powerful. He's got KO power, so I'd be looking for him to probably pick up a win there. Then you got Neiman Gracie versus Dante Shiro. Personally, I've never really been that much impressed with Neiman Gracie. He just got KO'd by Gotti Yamaguchi. But I don't know anything about the Dante Shiro. He's 9-4, so I'd say Gracie's probably going to win that one. Then you got Sabah Hamasi versus Brennan Ward. That is going to be a haymaker slugfest. Both of those guys come to swing. Brennan Ward's got some pretty good finishing ability, but has been KO'd as well. Sabah has got a lot of KO power, and I thought he was a little bit more one-dimensional, but he's looked pretty good in his last 2 fights. I believe he's on a 2-fight win streak. Then you got the title fight of the night. That's the co-main event. Johnny Eblen versus Anatoly Tokov. I've only seen Tokov fight one time. He looked pretty good. He looked like a diverse striker and takedown guy, as a lot of these Russian guys are. But Johnny Eblen is the real deal, man. I like that guy from the minute that I saw him. He went on a 4 or 5 fight win streak in Bellator. And then I really love Gegard Mousasi, but I had a feeling that Emblem was going to beat him. I threw some money down on Emblem, and it paid off. I think he's going to hold that belt for a while, so I'm going to take him in that fight. And then the main event fight, it's probably the farewell for the last Emperor, Fedor Emelianenko, one of the GOATs, if not the greatest heavyweight of all time. His pride fights with Nogueira, Mirko Krokop were things of legend. And he's fighting Ryan Bader. It's not going to be an easy fight. Bader has a win over him. Bader, has really revived his career in Bellator, and it's been good to see for him. I've never been a huge fan of his, but he's got KO power. He comes from the wrestling pedigree. I think it's a really cool fight for them, and it's a chance for Fedor to avenge a loss. It's going to be sad to see him leave MMA. It was a bummer that he never got to fight in the UFC. That fight they tried to make with him and Randy Couture or him and Brock Lesnar, it's one of the great missed fights that we never got. But nonetheless, Fedor did stand, behind his decision and had a great career outside of the UFC. He did lose from time to time here and there, but he got a lot of other good fights in. He fought Quentin Rampage Jackson, he fought Chael Sonnen, he fought Frank Mir. He got to get some of those fights with Bellator. But it's been a pleasure watching his career, and we are going to make him our first pick of the night. So we're going to pick 3 fights on the UFC card, but we are picking the last Emperor in his last battle. We're riding with him, and I just can't wait to watch him, and hopefully he gets the win tomorrow. All right, so now we have the UFC event, UFC 218 Fight Night, Lewis versus Spivac, taking place in the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. Really, really weird start time. It's a late start time. So the prelims start at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Main card starts at 10 p.m. I'm pretty sure the reason is they have this fight card's hosting the finals for the TV series that they ran called Road to the UFC. A lot of the fighters were from Singapore and South Korea. This event was actually supposed to take place in South Korea, but I believe they were going to have the Korean Zombie on it, and he ended up getting hurt. And so then they ended up moving it, right? So a little bit of a weird fight start time. I think they want to cater to probably the main crowd that watched that, which would probably be, in that Southeast Asia area. The main fight card, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to pick 3 fights. The first fight is Yusaku Kinoshita versus Adam Fugit. Kinoshita just recently won his fight on the Dana White's Contender Series. He looked pretty good. He was full of a lot of energy and he had some grappling and some striking. He's young. He's fighting Adam Fugit. Fugit just recently lost to, I believe, Ricardo Moraes, and who's a pretty good guy, but he fought really well. Didn't look, but I'm not sure how far he'll go. I've only seen one fight of him. He looked like a guy that had some pretty good boxing and some wrestling. On this one, we're not going to make it an official fight pick, but I would pick probably Yusaku Kinoshita. Younger, a little bit more athletic from what I can see. Has a lot of hype behind him coming off the Contender Series. So we'd go ahead and probably pick him if we had to. No fight cards for either of those guys. Next fight, you have Do Ho Choi, the Korean Superboy. He's fighting Kyle Nelson. Kyle Nelson, I really haven't watched him fight much. I to be completely honest, I don't know a ton about his skills. I do know Do Ho Choi, though. He burst onto the scene with some really, really big wins and looked like he was going to be a contender. He fell on some kind of tough times. He lost to, I believe, Cub Swanson and then Jeremy Stevens. And then he hasn't fought since, I believe, 2019. He is Korean, and they are required by law to, I believe, serve in their military at a certain age. So he's been off on military leave. It's not because he got dropped or anything like that. Good thing about that is he's probably been training, right? Like the idea that he, obviously wasn't fighting in a war or anything like that. So, he's been away from, pro fights. But I think he's probably in great shape, and he's probably been training and chomping at the bit to get back. So I'm definitely picking Do Ho Choi. Really like his fight style, kind of a lethal, quick striker. Not a lot of ground game, but I have to pick him against Kyle Nelson. I haven't heard much of Kyle Nelson, and so I'm going to go with Do-Hoi Choi there. Not an official pick because a little bit concerning, right? He might have some ring rust, so who knows. Third fight of the night is in the heavyweight division. It's Marcin Tybura versus Blagoy Ivanov. Blagoy Ivanov, he's a tough guy, man. He's not super... he doesn't have some crazy physique, but he's a big dude, and he's really good at making fights dirty. He's got something like 5 or 6. I think all of his fights in the UFC, I believe, have gone to decision. He's fought guys like Tai Tuivasa. He fought Junior Dos Santos in his first fight in the UFC. And he's fought a couple of other good guys, right? So he's really, really tough. He's more of a wrestler, I believe, and he uses a lot of clinch work. But he's got great stamina, and for a heavyweight to be consistently going 3 rounds or going to the distance, I just think he's a tough dude. Then you got Marcin Tybura, a Polish power guy. I've lost a lot of money on Tybura. I've bet against him when he wins, and then I've bet on him when he loses. He's a tough dude, but I really feel like he's kind of slow, in my opinion, for a heavyweight. And obviously, a lot of these heavyweights are slower, but he's got some power. He's got some ground game, but I don't know. I've never been that impressed with him, and I don't really know why. I just feel like he's another one of those kind of plodding dudes, and if he doesn't get ahead early, I feel like he crumbles. He's not able to finish guys off or come back from behind. With this fight, he's actually the favorite, Marcin Tybura is, but I'm going to go with Ivanov. Like, I just got a feeling that Ivanov is going to make the fight really tough for him. Tybura is not going to be able to dominate him, take him down. I don't think Ivanov's going to be afraid to strike with him, and Ivanov's got that durability. I just see him probably pushing Tybura up against the fence, making life tough for him, and then, really kind of that mental game that I don't feel super strong in Tybura will kind of take over, and I think Ivanov's going to get a decision. So he's going to be our first pick of the night. I do have cards for these guys, so we'll start with the cards I have for Marcin Tybura. Tybura's got this Don Russ 22. The Don Russ cards, not really super impressed with this series. They just don't feel all that great. Then we got his Prism card. Not a bad photo of him. Looks like a post-fight when he's happy that he's won. And then we got his 2022 Select card here with him getting his hand raised. Nice silvers there. I got 2 cards for Ivanov. He's not super popular. Not a lot of cards of him out there. This is his Don Russ. This is his base Don Russ 2022. Looks happy, kind of, that he won. And then this is the same card, but it is the press-proof version that has the blue or purple writing. So not a ton of cards from Ivanov, but I do think he gets the win tomorrow night. In the co-main event, you got Da Un Jung versus Devin Clark in the light heavyweight division. Da Un Jung, I really think he's got a lot of potential. I thought he was on his way to being a contender. He's got really, really slick boxing and some power and good stamina. And then he ran into Justin Jacoby in his last fight, where I thought he was getting off on Jacoby, and then Jacoby hit him with a pretty good shot and KO'd him. So that was a little bit of like a jarring, wonder what'll happen if that chin goes that way, or will he rebound? So this is kind of a big fight for him in a co-main event. Then you got Devin Clark on the other side. Devin Clark's another one of these like athletes. I believe he's got a wrestling background, so he's really tough, really strong, but his striking's very raw. He's not necessarily great at takedowns and getting the fight to the ground. I feel like a lot of his fights end up being clench fests. I've just never really been that impressed with him. And so in this fight, I think there's a possibility he's a big underdog that he does wear on June and make it, a dirty, gritty fight, that he might be able to pick up a decision. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think Da Un Jung is going to, make a rebound here, and I think he's going to show everybody that he is a contender. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Da Un Jung to get a win over Devin Clark. No cards for Devin Clark, but I do have one for Da Un Jung. This is his Prism rookie card. He was a rookie in 2022. Beautiful, love the red. I really love these Prism cards. They're just one of the best. This is numbered out of 299, 103 on the print. So not a super valuable or rare card, but I think it's cool to have a rookie at Da Eun-jung, and I think he's going to get the win tomorrow. Then last but not least, in the main event, we got Derek Lewis versus Sergey Spivac. This is going to be awesome, man. This fight's not going very, very long, and it's pretty straightforward what's going to happen. So, tune in because it's going to be great. You got Spivac on the one side. He's from Moldova. He's the polar bear because he's huge. He's got good wins in the UFC. Augusto Sakai, Greg Hardy, Alexei Olenek. He did lose to Tom Aspinall, but there's no shame in that. Tom Aspinall's another one of these top contenders and young guys in the division. He's mainly a grappler, right? He's looking to get the fight to the ground for sure. Heavy ground and pound if he can get the fight there. And he's an imposing guy and he can do it. Then on the other side, you got Derek Lewis. He's become one of my favorite fighters, or a guy that I just can't root against. I really love his fight style. His story's cool. He's hilarious, obviously. To me, he's the total package. He's super exciting, and a lot of guys say he's the hardest puncher they've ever punched. Huge knockout power in both of his hands. He'll do some crazy stuff like jump kicks and stuff. The guy's just super cool, super fun. He has been criticized in the past, right, for the lack of cardio, and it's made itself apparent in certain fights. Fights where he's doing really well in the early stages and he gasses a little bit, and next thing you know, he starts to take damages and goes down. He's on a tough losing streak right now too. I believe he's lost 3 in a row. He lost to Tai Tuivasa, he lost to Tai Tuivasa. He also lost to Sergey Pavlovich. That's a 2-fight losing streak. And then he also lost to Cyril Gahn. He got a KO over Chris Daukaus in the middle there, but he's kind of having a tough time lately. This fight's a rescheduled fight because before they fought, he got really sick in the back. He ended up admitting later that some of that was he got really stressed out pre-fight, started, I believe, vomiting and got sick. So, I don't know really where his head is at. A lot of pictures came out recently of showing him looking a lot thinner in the press conference and even in his weigh-in. I thought he looked normal, so I don't know what those photos were all about. Hopefully that means, he's kind of taking training seriously. He's losing a little bit of weight, but I'm worried that when you lose weight like that for a guy like him, that's where a lot of your power comes from, right? So hopefully he's not sacrificing weight or sacrificing power for speed. Not the worst idea maybe, but it'll be a bummer if the big weapon he has, which is that KO power, is gone a little bit, right? So this fight, it's really straightforward. Lewis needs to come forward, not get taken down, and land the big shots and put Spivac out early. Spivac needs to watch out for the big power, find a way to get the fight to the ground, and finish it. This is a tough one to root for, right? Because I actually really like Spivac. I think he's one of these guys that's going to be in the heavyweight title picture for years to come. But I love Derek Lewis. I can't help but root against him. However, my pick for this fight, we're going to go with the polar bear, Sergey Spivac. I think Derek Lewis is a little bit older. He's 37 in the game. Kind of dealing with some of the emotional or headspace kind of stuff. I just think Spivac, has looked pretty calm, cool, and collected. I think he can dodge and stay away from the big blows. I think he'll get it to the ground, and I think he will get a finish. So I'm taking Spivac. If you want to juice yourself a little bit, you could take him to finish the fight. That's probably going to get you a little bit better odds. A lot of cards for Derek Lewis. Not a lot of cards, but I got a few cards for Derek Lewis. Nothing really big for Derek. Just haven't ever really pulled anything. So this is his 2022 Don Russ. Nice little photo of him. This is his 2022 Optic that just came out. Looks like he's about to drill somebody. He's biting that lip. Then we got his base Prism. It's kind of cool fight here with Curtis Blades, who he KO'd into the Nether Realm. And then I got the same card, but I got a ruby red wave. So this is obviously beautiful. These are not numbered. They're shorter print, but not super low print. You see quite a bit of these when you're opening these packs, but I still think they're great. And it's the ruby red parallel. Only one card to show of Sergey Spivac, but it's a big card, in my opinion at least. This is the 2022 Select Cracked Ice octagon side of him. So Cracked Ice is typically in Prism, but then they did specialized packs of Cracked Ice for the Select product. And then those Select product, the Cracked Ice is also only for the octagon side. It's kind of one of the versions of the Select cards that are closer up to them. I love the octagon side cards. I just think they're really, really cool. It is his rookie year, so it's really, really nice. And then all of these are numbered to 8. So this is 7 out of 8. So it's really, really low print. It's a rookie card for his. I'm probably going to get it graded, but, you know, as you can probably tell, right, there's another reason why I want him to win over Lewis. Want this card to go up in value, and I want him to be a contender. So I love Derek Lewis. I think he's probably going to get beat tomorrow night, and I think Spivac takes another rung up the ladder towards title contention. That's going to do it for the Fight Picks and Cards show today. Let's go ahead and recap. So we got our first official pick of the day. We are going to pick Fedor Emelianenko to beat Ryan Bader in the Bellator 290 fight. That is an official pick, so that's the first one. Then on the UFC card, we're going to go with Yusaku Kinoshita to beat Adam Fugit. We're going to take Do Ho Choi to beat Kyle Nelson. Those are not official picks, just where we're leaning. Then our first pick is going to be Blagoy Ivanov over Mason Tabura. I think Blagoy is going to get that win there and overcome Tabura in that. Then we're going to go with Da-Un Jung for our second pick to beat Devin Clark. I just don't think Devin Clark has like the set of skills that Da-Jun has. I think Da-Jung is a better striker and going to win that fight. And then in the main event, Derek Lewis is going to probably lose to Sergey Spivac. It's going to hurt my heart, but I do like Spivac a lot. I think Spivac weathers the early storm, stays away from it, and then takes Derek Lewis down. Again, we're 19-5 headed into this. Hopefully we pick up another 4 and move to 23-15. Thanks for joining, and good luck to everybody with their bets this weekend, and I hope everybody enjoys the fight card. See you guys next time.